We are
Trying
on.
to build up an install base here.
We're on now. Now we are on.
You gotta get those millennials.
Was that about the time we were talking about eating ass?
Yeah.
That's a good way to kick off the people tuning in.
That was absolutely not a scripted bit.
Mm-hmm. Avocado toast, eating ass, fork knife.
That's my favorite game.
Minecraft?
Think we got them, guys. We got the millennials. They should be tuning in droves now.
I know we haven't even started recording, but I kind of want the episode title to be Avocado Toast.
Hey, yeah. Eat that ass like avocado toast. Johnny, let's get a countdown, man.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
My man.
Welcome to Game That Tune.
Oh yeah, it's Game That Tune back in the house, and I'm already stumbling over my own intro. Welcome back to Game That Tune, everybody. It's your boy John Harrington here. Clearly not rusty after a couple of weeks off from our hurricane-induced break. With me, as always, it's your boy John Regan. Say hey.
It's your boy John Regan. I'm saying hey.
Yeah, see, you'd never call John Regan your boy. It's a huge mistake.
No, you'd never do that.
We've got David Fleming. Say hey.
Hey.
And we've got Jesse Moore. Say hey.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, guys. So, man, if this is your first time joining us on Game That Tune, what we do around here is we listen to video game music. We've each brought 3 songs from a game. We try and guess the games based on the songs and a little bit of trivia. We goof off. We have a lot of fun. The winner at the end of the night picks a theme for the next episode and plays their bonus tunes. And, after a very confusing last week's episode, the ultimate winner was, of course, John Regan.
Hey.
Totally legit in that win. And, Johnny, what is the theme for tonight's episode that we forced upon you?
Well, the Game That Tune tradition is that every 26 episodes, we do a redo episode. So this week, we are covering games we have previously covered on the show at some point. It does not matter episode you covered it in. It could have been from episode 1. It could have been episode 101. It does not matter. We are redoing games from previous episodes.
That is a very thorough and detailed reading of the Game That Tune charter. Thank you for that, John. So every now and then we like to take a look back at games we've used previously on the show. Maybe we want to use some more tunes from them. Maybe we've got something left to say about them. Maybe somebody else used them before you got a chance to use them on the show, and you didn't like the tunes they picked or the things they had to say about the game. You never know what you're going to get with these redo episodes. So, so what is this? Is this our 5th redo episode in the history of Game That Tune?
Let's see, there's 26, whatever 26 times 2 is.
52.
No, 26 times 5.
Yeah,
Would be
26 times 5 is 130. I wasn't looking for a math breakdown. I was just saying it's like a milestone of redo episodes. It's our 5th annual, or what's 5? What do you call something when it happens 5 times in like 2.5 years?
Well,
It's our 5th quintannual.
it'd be so 26 would, if we did the show every week on the dot, it would be
John,
twice a
no,
year.
stop. Just let's not do the simple math
Biennial.
breakdown that no one's asking for, and let's just jump into game 1.
All right.
Game 1.
So, in one level of this game, interesting, the level whose song is coming up next, if you backtrack and wait for a while, a Metroid from the Metroid series will appear. So, oh, well played, John.
Yes.
Who's got those guesses ready?
For those listening in podcast form, there are puns in the chat.
So, John Regan says chill ass Super Metroid. Sadly
He's right.
incorrect. John Harrington and Jesse Moore have the correct answer of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Man, it was hot down here today. I could go for a tropical freeze right about now.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
So this game we covered back in episode 88 of Nintendovember or Nintendo. I forget what we officially called it, but
I believe Ryan Drake officially christened it at the end of the month Nintendo Truck Month, so I think it's that.
that works too.
Yeah, but I believe the original designation was Nintendovember.
Okay.
Nintendo Truck Month will be the thing going forward.
It's way better.
So, this was originally covered back in Nintendo Truck Month, and hey,
not just raising the bar; it is the bar, pal.
If that's the official designation, that's the official fucking designation. Who am I to argue?
I agree.
I mean,
so
John,
yeah,
you're fired. So, at the time this game was originally put on the show, I had not played it. So I went back and listened to the episode. We had a really fun discussion talking about Donkey Kong by way of Quentin Tarantino for some reason.
Yeah,
I was like,
Kong Glorious Bastards. Oh, that takes me back.
It's like, yeah, I've heard good things about this game. Like, I've heard people say, like, it's the best 2D platformer ever. I haven't played it, so, I don't really know. Well, in the time since that episode, this game has been ported to Switch. I have bought it on Switch. I have played it on Switch, and I am confident to say, yeah, this is basically the greatest 2D platformer ever made. Like, this game is a work of art. It's fucking incredible.
It's pretty fucking fantastic. Now, did it become the greatest 2D platformer ever because of the addition of Funky Kong mode? Because I thought it was very good, and you've only played the Funky Kong mode, so I'm guessing that's really what put it over the top, is the ability to play as such a radical surfing monkey.
Well, see, the funny thing is, I have technically played through the game in Funky mode, but I have not played as Funky Kong.
Oh,
Because what Funky mode does is it gives you the addition of Funky Kong as a playable character. Excuse me. It also, however, changes the game slightly. Like, you can pick Donkey Kong and his partner or Funky Kong. If you pick Donkey Kong and his partner, you play as Donkey Kong and his partner, but it also gives you an extra heart, and it lets you select items when you're in the level instead of before the level, so it makes the game slightly easier, which I appreciate because I did play the game like the standard mode, and this game is a swift kick to the nuts.
oh yeah, it really is.
But the game is also like, this game is incredible, and I do want to give a quick shout out to Mark Brown on YouTube, because I watched a video of his talking about Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and basically about the level design and how, like, basically how good this game is. And he brought up an interesting point, because he was saying, like, the levels in a Mario game, like a 2D Mario game, generally it's like the level introduces one mechanic and that's it the whole way. Like, this game's about spinning platforms, and here's a spinning platform. And then a little while later, like, here's two spinning platforms. And then a little while later, like, here's two spinning platforms and some enemies. Like, it gradually builds on the same thing.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze just kind of hits you with a bunch of stuff all together, but it never seems like out of place.
Right.
Like,
No, the level design is fantastic, and there's a lot of like control to kind of memorize. But if you get the flow of it and like really remember like what you're up against in each setting, you can really get a great flow in that game. My problem with it was when you encounter something, it's like, okay, well, I'm just like kind of rolling with it, and I jump for a platform, and then I realize that that's not the floor, that's a pit, and I was supposed to grab the grass above me and monkey my way through that. Like, when you're really recognizing what's going on in the levels and you know how to do everything, it's a lot of great like gameplay elements all in, not, I don't want to say perfect harmony, but pretty close to perfect harmony.
I mean, like, there's definitely some trial and error in there, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, absolutely. But like, when you get in there, and again, something that was brought up, like, a lot of things get thrown at you that seem really different, but kind of click because of how retro, because it was made by Retro Studios in Texas, obviously, who is famous for the Metroid Prime series, hence why there's a Metroid that pops up.
Mhm.
There's the trivia hint.
Thank you.
Like, they click and connect. There's a level where one of the most famous levels, Sawmill Thrills, I think it's called, where it's a minecart level, but you're going through like a giant sawmill. So instead of just avoiding giant saw blades the whole way, that's part of it. But also there'll be a giant saw blade coming up behind you that starts throwing up like pieces of debris onto the track that you have to avoid. And then it'll start cutting up a log in front of you, and that makes platforms that you have to jump. And then like the track will give out and it'll start throwing chunks of wood that you have to bounce off. Completely different level mechanics, but all with the same theme behind it. Like,
Right.
one of the worlds is, it starts off, the first level is the villain characters, and I'm trying to remember what they're called. Because they're like the Snowmads, yeah. They're like Arctic Viking animals.
Which, pause, that's a fantastic pun.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
They're snowy animals, and they're nomadic, and they're taking over Donkey Kong Country, or Donkey Kong Island. Snowmads, great fucking name.
Which you would think, like, with that kind of like, oh, we're gonna have the Snowmads invade, like every level would be an ice level, but no, only the final level. Like,
Dude, can
or
you
the final
imagine
world.
the nightmare of this game if it was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and it was just an entire game's worth of ice levels on top of being the challenging Donkey Kong Country Returns platforming. Like, fuck that. That's like an existential nightmare because it's something I would absolutely want to play and would be maybe the least fun thing possible. So yeah, it's Tropical Freeze. I'm glad they focus more on the tropical, a little bit less on the freeze.
I feel like they maybe mess up on marketing because when I hear Tropical Freeze, I assume it's all ice levels. Like that's what I thought this game was.
Yeah, I mean,
no, it's not. There's an entire world, and it's really well done because the first level is the Snowmads like invading the jungles and stealing fruit to like feed the army.
So is it like Game of Thrones, where like the wildlings are coming from the north and attacking?
I've never seen Game of Thrones, but yes.
Okay, cool.
I can say with certainty, yes, it mirrors Game of Thrones remarkably.
I feel confident in agreeing with you. So like the first level of this world is you in the jungle while they're picking fruit. And then the next couple levels is them in like the fruit processing plants where you're avoiding like blades chopping up the fruit.
Oh yeah, Fruity Factory is a great like rocket barrel level.
Yeah. And then there's a level where they're making it into jelly. So everything is just like bouncy pads bouncing around on this jelly. Then there's a level where they're freezing it into popsicles. So it's like an ice level. And then the final boss is a guy like enjoying his popsicle and you knock it out of his hand and he get pissed. And that's how it starts. Like the entire world is completely cohesive. It's a really masterfully well done game.
Yeah, it is. I was trying to remember because didn't this one also like send you back to like the grasslands at some point? Like this is the one. Didn't this have Grassland Groove?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. At some point, you get like knocked off Donkey Kong Island. You got to get back or something. But because those African inspired levels were fucking gorgeous too. Like
yeah. There's
in theme and in music.
There's one level where you're like going back through like the savannah of like the African savannah and they're having a fucking festival for some reason. So like you're going through the trees and everything. And then all of a sudden you have to climb on these giant platforms that are basically just like giant paper mache animal heads while they're like singing and confetti's going off. Like it's
the whole thing just
incredible game.
That whole level just reminded me of like playing through The Lion King on Super NES. It's just like, oh man,
it really does.
More of this, please. Like, it's dude, it's a fucking fantastic game. It's tough. I haven't played the Switch version, and I don't think I will because I beat the the Wii U version. But I didn't realize that like they had modes like that weren't just funky mode to make it a little bit more accessible, a little bit more easy. Because I believe I covered on previous episode my frustrations with the game and how difficult it was, and it's like I played it, I beat it, I feel good about that. I'd love to play it again to experience those gorgeous levels and that fantastic David Wise soundtrack, but I don't know if I'm gonna get it and play it in easy mode again. So
I got it, and as I said, I played through like technically funky mode, but as Donkey Kong, and about halfway through the game was like, I got a pretty good handle on this. I'm gonna go back to like regular Donkey Kong mode, and after the first like 3 levels, like no, fuck that, no.
Yeah, man, it's tough out there in the jungle, man. Donkey Kong really is the man if you can get through that fucking get through that game in normal donkey mode. But the game's great. And I'm glad, I don't know, I'm not down on Nintendo for doing a bunch of Wii U ports for the Switch because, frankly, nobody bought the Wii U. And they made a bunch of good games for it. So if they want to port them to the Switch, a system that people are actually buying and enjoying so that more people can enjoy the games, frankly, I'm for it. So, looking forward to Super Mario 3D World re-release on Switch. When that comes, I'll probably pick that up. But in the meantime, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, pretty fucking fantastic. And again, shout out to David Wise on that soundtrack. That soundtrack's fucking delightful.
It's so good. Like I was sitting there, I was like, I want to make sure that I don't pick the same songs. Like, let me go re-listen to episode 88. It's like, I had originally intended to pick 3 completely different songs, but fuck, the 3 that were chosen before are so good. Like the soundtrack as a whole is incredible.
It might have nailed it on that one. Oh crap. So yeah, man, it's a great game for re-picking. Just rich and fertile soundtrack ground. But anyway, anything else on Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, or anything Donkey Kong for that matter? John Regan's resemblance to Donkey Kong. Anything else on that?
I think the only thing to say is Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, outstanding, amazing game. Everyone should play it. And also, Kook, give me a banana.
There we go.
Game 2.
All right, so in a few levels, there are enemies that will steal health by grabbing them directly from your energy bars instead of attacking you normally. These enemies are referred to as Vaders, as in survivor of the original Space Invaders. right, guys. Who's got some answers? All right, we've got Jesse with Paradias, which I don't know what that is, David with Battletoads, and John with Battletoads. What the hell is your problem? The correct answer is Battletoads.
The thing Jesse wrote is Parodius.
Ah,
It's like a silly version of Gradius.
a silly version of
which-
Battletoads?
No, silly version. Proteus.
Can you imagine a silly version of Battletoads? Because this game is so goddamn serious.
That's what we need. We need the dark, gritty reboot of Battletoads.
No, we need the silly
Which I guess
version.
is
We need it even sillier. They need to be like battle clowns. And they
Although
need
I
to
guess
just throw pies all over the place, and Yakety Sax needs to play the entire time.
Rash from Battletoads and Killer Instinct is pretty much the gritty reboot of Battletoads.
That's true. Can you imagine
we've
though, like
all
you
been
hop on the
demanding?
you hop on the bikes in the turbo tunnel, and they've got little bike horns, and then it just starts playing Yakety Sax. Like it'd be a lot different level.
So I was thinking the gritty, serious reboot version where they hop on the bikes and it's basically just the bike from Akira.
Also that. And then one of the Battletoads starts, blowing up like a fucking disgusting Akira monster. Oh man, that's so silly.
Pimple!
Rash! So Johnny, what possessed you to pick this game again?
Because it was as far back as I could go and pick a game that I felt pretty good picking in. This is from episode 22. So I'm going
Nice.
way back on this one. It's
Is
been
that a secret
while.
competition? Like who can go the furthest back? I didn't know we were doing that.
That's because it's a secret, John.
It's a secret to everyone except John, who decided that was happening.
It's a secret competition that was decided during the show.
Yeah, fantastic. Man, yeah. So, has anyone's opinion changed on Battletoads in the last 107 episodes? I mean, have we gotten past level 3?
Game 3.
No, don't do it. Not yet.
That's a clip I want to steal for a calculating computer.
I'm just saying, I love it because it's not ripe for revisiting. No, there's been no progress on Battletoads by us or the world at large in the last
Rare.
couple of years.
It's still hard as
No,
balls.
Yep.
I love the fact that I brought up Tropical Freeze because hey, I finally played it, experienced it. I have opinions on it. I love the idea of John playing Battletoads because he has just now played Battletoads, even though the game came out in 1991.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord. So yeah, let's go through level by level, all the levels after the turbo tunnel, and discuss which ones we've played or seen or have any knowledge of. So Johnny, what's level 4 of Battletoads?
Well, I got nothing. I'm shrugging my shoulders so hard right now.
Anybody know the answer?
I know there's an ice level somewhere because I've seen
That's
somebody
it. It's
speedrun.
the Arctic Caverns. You have to beat up a
Boom.
bunch of snowmen. And
I
who
know
knows
there's
what?
a level where there's a giant snake monster that you're kind of riding throughout the level.
I believe that's shit. I don't know which level that is, but I know there is a snake level. I don't know, based on the name on the fucking Battletoads wiki, I don't know which one that is, but I know level 5 is Surf City. You got to do some surfing, and then you got to beat up a giant rat.
There's one where you swim through sewers, if I remember this right.
That's a Ninja
maybe.
Turtles.
Yeah, exactly, John. You fool.
There were 3 Battletoads and 4 Ninja Turtles. Get it together, man.
Reptiles versus amphibians, you son of a bitch.
God, why has that not been a crossover?
They did have Genghis Frog and Napoleon Frog.
Oh, I love those frogs. They're great.
That's the game we really need. We need Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, cross Battletoads, cross Double Dragon, the ultimate team up.
Oh, yes. God, that'd be fantastic.
And there'll be
God.
special
Yeah.
cameos by the X-Men.
And then throw in Final Fight and Streets of Rage. Oh, it'd be so good.
I'm just trying
And
to
then one of the
imagine,
knights from Castle Crashers.
like Battletoads.
Just like a beat 'em up Smash Bros.
Why have we not? Seriously, it's been so long since we brought up Super Beat 'em Up Bros, and it's such a good idea. Like, why is it not a thing?
yeah, eight player beat 'em up game would be amazing.
Dude.
Yeah.
With a roster of like 40 characters.
Hell yeah, man.
Oh,
That is made for Switch. I mean, Capcom just put out the Beat 'em Up bundle, which is dope. It's a really cool re-release of a bunch of arcade perfect beat 'em ups. That's all well and good. Next time, smush them all together and get a bunch of crossovers and just make it fucking crazy off the wall and swarming with magic frogs. It's gonna be fantastic.
John,
Like,
that's your answer for everything. Smush them all together, make it crazy off the wall with magical frogs.
yeah, dude, I've been saying it for months,
That's
years even.
that's how you want to fix America. That's that's the kind of game you want to make.
Yep.
No, that's what we need. We need a Capcom crossover beat 'em up with Mike Hager and Captain Commando and Morrigan for some reason, because Morrigan's in every Capcom crossover.
Of
Like,
course.
fuck it, make it happen.
Yeah, and then I mean, it can't be that hard to get these characters away from whoever owns them now, Microsoft or whatever. Like, just get a fucking Battletoad in there and have them, have their eyes bug out when they see Morgan's boobies. It just, it writes itself. Come on, man, this is simple stuff. Should have happened by now, quite frankly. But yeah, so Battletoads, yeah. So we've demonstrated a proficiency of the levels past level 3. Definitely played those before. Yeah.
I hope that our proficiency of levels past levels 3 is. I'm pretty sure this is one, maybe.
Oh, I mean, I can say with certainty there's an ice level and a surf level, and again, that at some point there are snakes, but I couldn't tell you with certainty if that's level 6, 7, 15. I don't fucking know. So yeah,
How many levels were in this game? I feel like there were only like 8.
I
There
think
are
it
only
was like
3.
I think it was definitely 3. And I think in a more accurate sense, I believe there were 12, but nobody ever fucking got that far. Even back in the day when you would punch in a Game Genie code to start at like the last level, it just like drops you into a horrifying, just disorienting thing that you don't have any idea what you're doing, and you never beat this game. Like this just this game doesn't exist past level 3. But great reselection there, John. I love the theme that we're developing over the course of the night of hard as fuck animal based games.
With soundtracks by
featuring-
David Wise.
Featuring David Wise soundtracks for some reason. So, man, I'm pretty sure that Jesse picked the gritty reboot of Banjo Kazooie for the next one. So, holy shit, that's great.
Banjo
Not
Kablooie.
David Wise. But maybe we, Johnny, unless there's something else on Battletoads, what do you got anything else?
Have I told you about that time I saw a guy casually beat the Turbo Tunnel level?
Yeah, I think that's what came up the first time we talked about Battletoads. Like it was, you were, you were very impressed with that man.
I think I still disbelieve you because there's no such thing as casually beating the Turbo Tunnel.
No, right.
Like there's only beating the Turbo Tunnel by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah, on the inside, he was freaking the fuck out.
I'm gonna
Outwardly,
retell-
he may have seemed calm.
I'm going to
But
retell
on
the
the
story
inside-
for people that didn't hear it before, all right? It's very short.
All right, cool. I'm going to use it for a chance to go to the bathroom.
Thanks, David. So, this guy put together a wireless NES controller on his own, like built his own thing. And he was like,
Definitely
yeah,
know the
my
story.
way of testing if there's like a lot of lag on this or not is can I beat the Turbo Tunnel? And so he proceeds just kind of pulled up and just casually beat the Turbo Tunnel with his new wireless NES controller. He's like, yeah, okay, lag on this must be pretty good because, I could beat the Turbo Tunnel with it. And I was like, fuck
Right.
you, asshole. Like, who are you?
Not only was it you're impressed by the guy's proficiency at the Turbo Tunnel, it was also a nerdy wireless controller story. So
Yeah.
that definitely came up the last time we talked about Battletoads or wireless controllers. I don't know. We'll have to review these old episodes because that sounded far too familiar. But yeah, I'm really just stalling until David gets back from his little pee-pee break.
He could be pooping.
Yeah, God help him. 'Cause we don't
Jump and
take
run.
we don't take deuce breaks in the middle of game that tune, man.
We don't
You
take
hold
shit.
it.
We don't take any shit from David.
Exactly. So anyway, there's
Oh,
definitely
thank God we didn't move on to the next game.
definitely a level that involves snakes, and that's that's pretty much it, man. One day everybody will know, or maybe one day Battletoads will just go the fuck away and nobody will care about what happens past level 3 ever again. Have we thought about that? The possibility of this just fading away into obscurity?
No.
The kids need to be warned about the turbo tunnel.
How are we?
I feel like there's enough like internet trolls that really give a shit about Battletoads that this will never go away.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
I mean,
you gotta call GameStop and ask if they have Battletoads.
Bingo.
honestly,
You know.
honestly, you can send me to Sunday school every week and tell me about heaven and all that, and like, I don't give a shit about it. But if you're like, John, there's a level after the turbo tunnel, I need to see it. I need to
Yeah.
figure out how to see it. I need to figure out what path I need to take to get there. You know what I mean? That's how you get me to stay
The
straight.
righteous path.
So work on that, John. This weekend, I want you back on the live stream, and I want you playing nothing but the turbo tunnel for like 3 hours trying to beat it. Just do it.
It won't happen.
I know.
Game 3.
All right. So this game was the 8th game released in the series, but it is 12th in the timeline. How you guys feeling? I think David looks pretty confident.
I think that's just the alcohol.
Oh, either one.
It's it's a kind of a toss up for me. This is actually, good job, Jesse. This is a bit of a tricky one, I think.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what you guys whipped up. Oh, we got
Oh.
oof. Okay, Johnny says World of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse and Duck.
I ran out of room.
Okay. Fuck
then
Donald. John with Castlevania Dracula X. No. It's David with Castlevania Bloodlines.
Is that right?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I was very impressed.
I apologize. I want to interject very quickly. Before we start getting into the Castlevania Bloodlines talk, I want to give John Regan some shit for calling him Duck. That is Donald Duck,
I
and
said
he
I
is a
ran-
storied character.
I said I ran out of room on the card. I know it's Donald.
Yeah, don't worry, man. This episode's going to hold up great in the future once Donald is a really taboo word.
What? Why would that happen?
I don't know, man. Just guessing on current political climates. So Castlevania Bloodlines. See, yeah, that's the thing. That music sounded pretty Genesis-y, but not like hit you over the head Genesis-y. So I went with Dracula X just in the off chance you chose that. But I should have known you'd go Bloodlines, man. Like, what was I
Episode
thinking?
7.
Oh God, he's going even
Damn.
further back than Johnny. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
See, now I feel like an asshole for going to episode 88. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Jeez, David. Nobody has
New kid on the
nostalgia
block,
for.
am I right?
Nobody has nostalgia for whatever year that was. Last year, jeez. But yeah, man. So Bloodlines, still pretty dope.
Yeah, this game's great. But
yeah.
it's like the forgotten Castlevania because Konami, of course they don't care about their video games anymore, but they have been releasing some re-releases, and there's going to be like a new Symphony of the Night thing that's coming out. But none of the re-releases, they haven't re-released Bloodlines. I don't think it's on Virtual Console or anything. It's just like you got to either have the cart or know someone on the internet you can borrow it from.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy these days to pull up a Wikipedia page for a game and have it just list one system. It's like, Castlevania Bloodlines system, Sega Genesis. Like, that's it? You really didn't feel like re-releasing this at some point? Like, I feel like
especially like if I want to say it was Dracula X or Rondo of Blood, like was never released in America but got re-released on like Virtual Console.
Yeah.
That was definitely Rondo got the like Virtual Console release, and then it even got I think a PSP release and shit. So and aren't they coming out with another like like a Castlevania like re-release here in a little bit, like another Rondo of Blood re-release? Like what's
it's like a Symphony of the Night thing, and it also is going to have Rondo of Blood with it, I believe.
Yeah. That's I'm glad it's getting re-released. I'm all for us. Actually, I don't know the details on that, whether it's like an HD Symphony of the Night or what. But I'm all for some re-releases of games on systems that I currently own and would like to play games on, like PS4. But yeah, Bloodlines, please. Like, what the fuck?
And it's not like it's a shitty Castlevania. It's like a really good standard, level by level Castlevania, and you get two different characters you can pick from. So I
wonder if they hesitate to re-release these just because, like, maybe if people played too many of them in like a bundle or something, they'd start to see like too similar or something. Like, because the Mega Man games, they're all iterations on a formula, but like the bosses are different each time, and you get new abilities and all that. But like, if they released a Castlevania Legacy Collection, I'd buy the shit out of it.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I'm just like here, like
first 7 or 8 Castlevania games with those beautiful, like old school graphics. Like, ooh, I'd play that. I played that so good.
I'm sitting here reading about it, and as I'm learning about it, it's like the game storyline contains a legendary vampire named Elizabeth Bartley, which is an awesome historical reference, who is Dracula's niece in the 20th century, plotting a sacrificial war and orchestrates the beginning of World War I. It's like, holy shit, this game sounds incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
Like turn of the century vampires starting World War I want to play that.
Yeah, actually, and I wasn't even aware of that setting, but that explains, the title being Bloodlines. Like, if this is like far removed from the rest of the Castlevania series and like with a 20th century, turn of the century type setting, like, yeah, let's play that. That sounds fucking dope. Like, I'm just thinking of like Metal Slug cross Castlevania now, and I think it'd be pretty fucking amazing. I'm sure it's not that, but
like, a lot of these games, especially the Castlevania series, like you either get like 1500s or like 2200.
yeah.
Like those are your extremes. Like turn of the century, like 1900s Castlevania sounds fucking awesome. Can we get a Castlevania set in the 1930s where you have to fuck up like Nazi werewolves? Because I want that.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I get the feeling maybe like would the vampires be the Nazis? Like, or I don't know, man. Like, trying to think.
I mean, like superior race, Eastern European. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, I would. I don't know why I'm thinking that you play as vampires in these games all of a sudden. I'm like, I feel so bad. Like, the characters that you like would be the Nazis. I'm like, wait, no, you play as the Belmonts. You play as like Sergeant Belmont infiltrating Castle, like fucking Vampire Stein and taking out Vampire Hitler. You're not playing as vampires in these games. You don't like vampires in these games. But
oh my god, like
my brain got all crossed up.
You know how the Assassin's Creed games, like you play as the assassins throughout history in different periods? They should do that with the Belmonts. Just like every game is a new historical period and you just happen to be the Belmont of that era. Like Sergeant Belmont. I want that so badly.
Exactly. Frankly, I don't know why they haven't done that.
You could have like a fucking old school 1940s machine gun and like pulling out the ammo gun, and that's his version of the whip. Like it's just that giant ammo belt.
Oh yeah. God, just think about like the late '90s, early 2000s Belmont. He'd be like Blade Belmont. That'd be the potential is right there for an excellent game. Like, it's just side-scrolling Metroidvania, and it's set in a place with a lot of strobe lights, and it's got Wesley Snipes in it. Sounds great.
Now that I think about that, like, I know we're kind of like joking around and everything, but I wonder if in like the official Castlevania timeline and everything, they ever did like a 1960s, 1970s game, because they should make a Castlevania set in like the 1970s. That would be dope.
There's one in 1944, Portrait of Ruin.
Okay.
But Portrait of Ruin is fucking awesome.
But then it skips to 2035.
See, they need to get in the 60s, and there need to be some vampires trying some psychedelic shit. Like, it needs to get fucking out there, man.
That's what I'm saying. There should be like a level by level classic Castlevania, and one of the levels is just a fucking discotheque.
Yeah. Oh man. Or you're killing vampires, and there's a bunch of like hippie daisies all over the walls.
Yes.
Now, the Kid Dracula games take place in the year 11,000.
Whoa.
So,
and it took that long for Dracula to have a kid? I mean, it makes sense. Vampires don't really reproduce. But
Well, he was having a 10,000-year nap, according to this, and he woke up because someone challenged him.
Nice.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, dude. You're trying to just like catch 10,000 Z's, and somebody just comes up and challenges you, steps you on your vampire cred and ruins that nap. Ooh. Got a Kid Dracula that ass, like.
That's when you crawl out of your little like coffin on the moon and say, after 10,000 years, it's finally time to conquer Earth.
Dude,
that's a dated reference.
Hey man, that is the last logical crossover that we should make reference to is the Power Rangers Castlevania crossover, which would also have
the Power Rangers versus Dracula.
I feel like they've done that for some reason.
I was thinking
probably.
I was thinking Belmont versus Rita Repulsa or Belmont versus the Power Rangers.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
oh god, Rita Belmont.
That's how every crossover starts. The heroes meet, they disagree, they fight, and then they realize they're on the same side and they band together. Like, yeah, you've got to have Belmont fuck up the Power Rangers, and then they decide to team up against Lord Zed and Dracula.
God, just imagine
this shit writes itself.
If Rita all of a sudden started like fucking vampires up, and they're like, "Damn, Rita, I thought you were more like pro vampire." She's like, "Oh, you didn't know? My maiden name is Rita Belmont. I just married Mr. Repulsa. Like, vampires. I don't fucking put up with that shit." And then she throws her staff down to earth and turns something giant. It like smushes Dracula. Like this. That's pretty good.
I was thinking about
Simon staff and it turns into a giant whip like Ivy's sword from Soul Calibur.
Yes.
What would Simon Belmont's Megazord be? That's what I want to know.
It would just be like a giant robot, but in a loincloth with a whip. Obviously.
Fuck yeah, it would. Oh, that should be his final smash when he comes to Smash Brothers. He jumps into a Megazord whip.
Not even a Megazord with a whip, but just a giant robot whip.
Giant whip.
Just falls to the ground.
It's like the Landmaster. It just fucking takes up the whole stage. But yeah, so anyway, Castlevania is dope, and I would think that since they're getting that fucking fantastic Smash Brothers bump coming up soon, they'd be more willing to release some new games. But fuck me, what do I know? I'm so pumped for them to be in Smash.
There's got to be something coming. Like you don't put your character in Smash Brothers if you don't have a plan.
Yeah, just you wait. They're gonna surprise everybody, and Bloodlines is just gonna be like a hidden masterpiece inside of the new Smash Brothers. It's gonna blow everybody's mind. It's not going to happen, but it'd be that'd be the ultimate Smash Brothers move is to have the one Sega Genesis exclusive Castlevania game hidden on the disc for Smash Brothers Ultimate. When you unlock those Belmonts. So fingers crossed that happens. But Jesse, anything else on Castlevania or the Belmonts in general, or what their final smashes should be?
Final smash. Maybe use like every item that you can pick up, like the axe and the the sickle and the holy water and stuff just
Throw
at once.
Throw a giant bone at him. Like,
Yeah.
I love that big bone.
But
oh
yeah.
my!
Bloodlines, yeah, check it out. It's great. It's the forgotten great Castlevania game.
Yeah, if anybody needs a Sega Genesis, they can borrow John Regan's. Just hit us up at Game That Tune on Twitter. He'll send it. He'll send you his.
Game 4.
Alright, so in the US version of this game, one character's flying kick pose was altered to censor her underwear. All right, guys, who's got an answer? Let's see him. All right, Jesse says Streets of Rage, and David and John say Streets of Rage 2. This is Streets of Rage 2. Do we give it to Jesse? Judges?
Hey, man, I say we do a hat trick.
I mean, he held up the number 2 in his hand.
All right, this is Streets of Rage 2, requested by Mixmaster on our Discord.
Fantastic.
We originally used this game back in episode 34.
Really?
Yeah.
It took us till 34 to get Streets of Rage 2?
Right?
I thought this was
When
going
did
to be
we
like,
do
here
Streets
we
of
are,
Rage
episode
1?
2. Like, shit.
Streets of Rage 1 was done in episode 27.
That's
God.
we went deep into a video game music show without pulling either Streets of Rage game. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that. I mean,
This is one of those
Seriously,
soundtracks where I always forget how goddamn good it is until I'm listening. I'm like, fuck, why don't I listen to this all the time? This is amazing.
yeah, why isn't that just like the
Yeah.
sound that's in your head constantly?
Right?
Like,
It's so good. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like a Sega Genesis anymore. It sounds like they made up their own instrument or something. I don't know how to describe it, but like they took that chip and like pushed it to the limits and pushed it out of the typical Genesis sound and into
Yeah.
like a new stratosphere, and it's so good. It's so goddamn good.
Well, I
Ah.
think, and I don't want to speak to your life experiences, but for me personally, like I forget how good the Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack is because I can't get past level 1. Like Go Right is so good that I listen to that, it's like, fuck yeah, this is amazing. Next song. And then like I never listen to the rest of the soundtrack because I just listen to that one song like on repeat.
yeah, it's a good policy. It's fucking excellent. I mean, yeah, it's so crazy to me that this series is not more prolific. Like it, I remember like whenever we were talking about these back when we first used them on the show, it's like, man, how many Streets of Rage games do they crank out? Then I realized I was thinking of like every other beat 'em up, and there were only 3 of them, and it's like just now they've announced they're going to make Streets of Rage 4. And I'm like, what is wrong with Sega? Why did it take them this long to think Streets of Rage 4? Like, what the
Well,
fuck?
it's weird though because a lot of those beat 'em ups, like Final Fight, never got past 3. Like I feel like a lot of them never quite got past 3.
Well,
but
they never were
they
good
fucking
past that. I mean, like they, there's like Final Fight, like I think like Streetwise and like Final Fight something
oh
else. like,
god, I forgot about that.
they tried to keep Final Fight going unsuccessfully. Like Sega just left Streets of Rage at Streets of Rage 3 and never fucking went back to it. And it's like, what's going on here? Like you're making like even as Sega became self-referential with like fucking the Sonic Racing games and like Project Cross Zone and all this shit, it's like, where are the Streets of Rage characters? Why have you ignored this series for so long? Like, what is wrong with you guys? It's
Well,
so good.
maybe
I am so
maybe-
pissed that the Sonic crossover like racing games never had a Streets of Rage character in a fucking police car.
Or a Streets of Rage track. Just imagine driving through a beat 'em up. Like, that's all you need.
He's driving and everybody on the side is just like fighting the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, a bunch of graffiti ass streets and people fucking, using burning fists on each other. Like it makes sense. Like,
So there's something to be said about, intentionally not revisiting a series. Like, for example,
it seems deliberate.
Seinfeld famously said, Jerry Seinfeld famously said, like, he will never do a reunion of the show Seinfeld. He's like, no, we did it. It's done. That's it. Like, we're not doing it again.
And
Right?
then they did it on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Mhm.
Twice.
Yeah.
They did?
Did some special episodes,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
That, it was Curb Your Enthusiasm that basically acted as a Seinfeld reunion. It was pretty funny.
Son of a bitch. I did not know they did
But
that.
he-
That killed my whole
still-
thing.
Still, he didn't do it. He didn't do it like fucking all the other TV shows are doing now. Fucking, like Roseanne came back, and now Roseanne's back again, but Roseanne died. So there's the new, the Connors, and like
Yeah.
Murphy Brown's back.
Oh,
Will
what?
and
Murphy
Grace-
Brown.
For some reason.
Yeah, they're bringing everything that was hot in the '90s back.
Oh, there's going to be a new
and-
Frasier, I think.
No, fuck no.
Okay.
They've been. I read about
Card.
that. Brief Frasier time sidebar. Fucking Kelsey Grammer apparently has been like discussing that with some people, and he's getting like no buyers, especially now that the dad from the show is dead. So
Mm.
I'm hoping they can just leave Frasier alone. Like,
That's true. How the
Yeah.
fuck would you do Frasier without John Mahoney?
especially how would you sell it to like a network or like Netflix the same year that John Mahoney died? Like, well, I'm glad we all got together for John Mahoney's funeral. It was really great seeing you again, David Hyde Pierce. Hey, should we do Frasier again? Like,
He would
Hey,
have
our
wanted
show
it.
had 4 prominent characters, one of whom is dead.
Yeah.
You want to buy it?
I heard a
Exactly.
good idea for a spin-off where Roz moves to Roswell, New Mexico, and she's like trying to like raise her like a daughter, and she works at this radio station, and it's like this. One of her foils is this, conspiracy nut and stuff, and every now and then like Frasier comes by, for whatever reason, and
Not a bad idea.
wackiness ensues. But it's mostly about like Roz and her raising her daughter and stuff. And
See, and it would be really
So,
great.
Wait.
Hold on, video game tie-in with that Roz show. So Roz goes to Roswell. She has to fight aliens. Streets of Roz.
I like it.
God.
I was gonna say I would watch the fuck out of a show about Roz raising her teenage daughter in Roswell, New Mexico, while hosting a radio show if her co-host was an alien.
Yes, and I'm trying to think of like some bad Roswell puns, like Roswell that ends well. It's just like, it's all it's out there. It's close. We need to work on that script a little bit, Jesse, before we sell that one. Like. Because CBS is, they got the Big Bang Theory getting canceled, so they're going to need a new nerdy show, and I think that people are going to be clamoring for a Roz-based Roswell sitcom. We could write it. We could do it. But yeah, anyway, so that's Frasier sidebar time over.
Streets
Speaking
of Rage.
of Streets of Rage,
Starring
is-
Kelsey Grammer.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Streets of Rage is that when I was a kid, I actually didn't like these games. Like I was very bad at them, and I didn't
Johnny,
get
get
very far in
the
them.
fuck out.
I didn't like things that were fun and cool.
But like when I listen to the soundtracks now as an adult, I'm like, fuck, this is some good fucking music. Like I want to play it just so I can get those stages with the sweet ass tunes. Like that's what I
You
want.
want to go back in time and smack little Johnny on the back
Yeah.
of the head and be like, stop drawing Sonic original characters and play more Streets of Rage, dumbass. Like,
Yeah. Stop writing to Sega about Rocky the Rhino. They're never gonna do it. Just play Streets of Rage. It's great.
Awesome Possum's dead. Play some more Streets of Rage, you fool.
Rocky Rhino
Um,
is not a thing I just made up. That was something I made up when I was a kid.
I know, John. I know. Yeah, I'm proud of you.
The question is, will Rocky Rhino ever get shooted?
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, John, these are questions you're going to have to answer for the Sega guys if you want them to get that Rhino into the next Sonic game. Anyway, yeah, no, John, you should have played more Streets of Rage as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
nobody was good at these games. Fucking old school beat 'em ups are tough, man. Final Fight was hard as shit. I loved it. Streets of Rage was hard as shit. I loved it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter that you can only get to like level 2, maybe 3 if you fucking manage yourself really well. Like, it doesn't matter. The game's fun.
That's one of the things that I think is so weird. Like, these games were meant to steal quarters in arcades, but like the home console ports were not adjusted at all. So like
Exactly.
you play the Sega Genesis version of Streets of Rage 2, it's hard to get past like level 3.
And the
Like,
beauty
oh
of it is
god, co-op
Yeah.
games too.
And like Streets of Rage wasn't even an arcade game. It was just Sega games. So like
Yeah.
it didn't need to be arcade hard. Like they just I don't know. I guess that was the standard back in the day. You had to
God,
play a
I'm
game
trying
for
to
a long
remember-
fucking time to get good.
Was it level
Hmm.
3 or level 4 of Streets of Rage where the boss had a fucking jetpack? Because that shit pissed me
I
off.
fucking hate that dude.
Are you thinking of like Turtles in Time when you're fighting Baxter Stockman?
No, this dude's worse
No.
than that.
Okay.
There is a boss in Streets of Rage 2 specifically who has a jetpack who like fucking swarms the stage, and
And
it's
motorcycle.
Was
infuriating.
he the
Drive-by
Rocketeer?
I fucking wish.
It's on that
There we
first
go.
level.
Streets of Rage goes back in time to the 1940s. Again, that's what we should do. We should make a beat 'em up with, the Battletoads and the Belmonts back in the 40s where you just fuck up Nazis.
Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, take the Turtles in Time framework, apply it to a beat 'em up multiverse, and you travel throughout time and different universes, and for the most part, yeah, you beat up Nazis. You call it beat 'em up time, or
Nazi
possibly
time.
possibly clobbering time, and you just it's that game, that's a million sellers. It's the greatest game that ever existed, but. Geez.
Really, like, as this show progresses, slowly I'm just realizing my perfect game is a game where you can select any playable character from any game ever and you fuck up
Hey,
Nazis.
beat a Nazi.
That's all I want out of the game.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, it does. So Streets of Rage 2 mercifully light on the Nazis. It holds up pretty well in spite of the lack of Nazis.
I think there might be a couple skinheads. So
True that. Definitely some punks.
And if you play the Japanese version, you get to see Blaze's underwear when she does her flying kick attack.
Fuck yeah,
Oh, yeah.
John. That's what I live for.
love playing
16-bit
games.
Pixelated
bro.
underwear.
Yeah. Ooh, a little glimpse of that. So what did they edit in its place? Like a bush? Like
No, they
No, they kept the underwear. They just added bush to the sides of it.
exactly. Oh man. Yeah.
they shifted her other leg a bit, right, to where it's like covering everything up. That's what they did.
Okay. A good move there, Sega of America. Yeah, cunning bastards. I'm gonna find that Japanese cut. It's gonna be good. Anyway, Johnny, anything else on Streets of Rage 2? A fantastic soundtrack to a great game, and I'm glad the series is coming back with a new version.
No, I think that's all I got.
Yeah. So fuck yeah. Make sure that Sega knows that people want these by going and buying Streets of Rage 4 when it comes out. Maybe
I can't
in
wait to
another
see
40 years or so, we'll get Streets of Rage 5. So
Game 5.
All right. So, this game was originally going to be released in North America on September 14th, 2001. Due to 9/11, however, a sequence featuring a lot of destruction of the city of Manhattan was severely cut down, and the game's release was pushed back to November. All right. So, how's everybody feeling on this one?
I
want to change my answer to pizza shoes.
The chat's a lot of fun tonight.
God, I don't know. I can't believe you've done this, but like I think you've done this.
Mm-hmm. I might have.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah. So everybody says Metal Gear Solid 2, and they're all correct.
Welcome to Game That
Oh, damn it.
Tune.
Yeah.
I have a bone to pick about your trivia. You said this game
Go
was,
on.
You said this game was delayed until November, but when I go to the Wikipedia page about list of entertainment affected by the September 11th attacks, and I scroll down to the video games, it says that this game was released as scheduled in November 2001.
Okay, well, don't
Not
ask
pushed
me.
back.
I'm
see,
just.
I look up the list of video games released in 2001, and the only one that could... There are only 2 games that could feature extensive destruction of the city of Manhattan released in November 2001. One is Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. The other is Super Smash Bros. Melee. So I took a gamble, and I'm glad I'm correct.
Never
Yes.
forget.
Now,
Smash
in
Brothers.
fairness, actually, I may have misunderstood that trivia. It may have been that it was scheduled to be like pressed and distributed beginning on September 14th, 2001, and like set for release in November, though that doesn't really make sense. But like some way or another, this game originally featured a lot more of the destruction of the island of Manhattan, and they just missed. Putting it out there right after 9/11. So
yeah, they made the release date, but they had to make cuts. They did have to do that.
Yeah, they did. So anyway, I've been waiting a long time to use this game, and I'm glad to be able to bring it back. We've been having that competition of who gets to go the farthest back, and now I'm changing the competition of who gets to use the game from the most recent episode. So you may remember Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty when we featured it on episode 129. Somewhat
played,
notably.
Well
Yeah.
played.
This was my goodness, Johnny. This was one of the top 10 all-time Game That Tune betrayals. Probably number one easily. There haven't been very many betrayals on this show. I gotta say, you caught everybody off guard with that one. Caused a little problem for me and my brain, and I'm glad to be able to rectify that situation now. I'm better, and I'm prepared to talk at length and make perfect sense when discussing this game. This game's really good, guys. I don't know if you know that. It's,
If I can interject, it will be nice to get your thoughts on Metal Gear Solid 2 without hearing
exactly. That's because Johnny's little half thoughts, they were all so close to being correct, and it just it's like, oh yeah, that part where you fight the fat man. It's like, it's just Fat Man, but you're kind of right, like son of a bitch. Yeah, so this game's dope. I was thinking about it, and this game I think had a bad rap for a long time because people got all pissy that you couldn't be Snake the whole time. You had to change over to Raiden, and Raiden had a reputation of being kind of like a whiny little bitch. And I never felt that way. Like, yeah, Raiden's kind of a whiny little bitch, but see, here's the problem that I didn't have with the game. This was actually my first Metal Gear Solid game. I didn't own a PlayStation 1. And so I knew enough about it that I wanted to play Metal Gear Solid 2 without having played Metal Gear Solid 1. So it didn't bother me in the slightest that you had to change characters in the middle of it. I thought it was pretty cool. And I thought that Snake guy that showed up later on was pretty cool too. He plays a little Snake. You take over as Raiden, and then it's pretty clear that Snake is hanging out and talking to you the whole time because he's got a very distinct Snake voice. And yeah, I liked it, man. It was good. And yeah, so that main gripe aside, this game's fucking classic, man. I feel like this game is underappreciated in some ways. Just like I said, because it's got it had that initial backlash. I'm hoping that time has been kind to this game. I've watched some videos and revisited the game a few times, and man, this had some really some really prescient moments towards the end of it, some of those conversations at the end of the game talking about needing to filter out information and control the information flow in the digital age, and how it used to be certain information was passed down and now too much trivial information is being recorded and disseminated. I'm listening to that in 2018. I'm like, they're making a really good case for deleting Twitter. How did they know to do that in 2001? Whoa, man! The damn Patriots, man. It's I guess there's those people that think Thanos had a point. I'm watching videos on this. I'm the Patriots kind of had a point. They wanted to use it to evil means, but I don't know. At the core, the Patriots might have had a pretty good point. But anyway, that's getting way too far ahead. David, have you still not played these games?
The Metal Gear Solid series, no. I have played the original Metal Gear on NES briefly, but not the Solid games.
Have you considered playing them? I think these might be more in your wheelhouse than you realize,
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In almost every game, at some point, you do feel asleep, and there's some running and some inscrutability.
At some point, the truck have started to move.
Exactly. So that comes up in every subsequent game. That's really kind of the final point of the game. Like, you get to Metal Gear Solid 4, and like characters are putting guns in their mouths and shit, and then the trucks start to move.
No, I'm sorry to say that the vast majority of my Metal Gear Solid knowledge comes from Super Smash Brothers.
Okay. I mean,
Wow.
have you considered actually playing them? Because I'm telling you, I think these might be more like up your alley than you realize. Like, gameplay style aside. Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it's
Considering that, like, throughout the history of Game That Tune, I'm a fan of like the Warriors series, Mario, and Shantae. Metal Gear Solid, is that included in the list?
well, okay, but so
Wait,
let me pitch you on a few things,
wait. The Warrior, I only know of one Warriors game for the PS2. Is that what you're talking? Like they have a whole series
John
of
beat
that?
it. This is repeat
Shut up.
episode. We know David likes his Warriors games. His Hyrule, his Fire Emblem Warriors, and no, sadly there is no Metal Gear Solid Warriors. Though at all Metal Gear
That would
Warriors
be
games,
fucking awesome.
Metal Gear Muso would be pretty good. But I mean, okay, so
Although, to be fair, everything Muso would be pretty fucking good.
yes, exactly.
I just want Fire Emblem's crossover Metal Gear Warriors, but done in the style of the Warriors, the movie, like Warriors, clink, clink, clink.
Yes,
Come out and play.
a bunch of Fire Emblem characters operating Metal Gears on Coney Island. Yes,
Perfect.
please.
Oh my god.
But David, so just tell me how you feel about like I don't know, science fiction.
I'm a fan.
Wacky
okay.
boss fights.
Also a fan.
Mild fantasy elements.
I'm a fan. I feel like this is leading towards like a big gotcha reveal for me.
Strong female characters.
All right, I'm gonna take the bait. I'm a fan.
Sexy men.
Big fan.
Okay, I mean, I'm serious. Like, I'm giving you almost, it's like, okay, so then, setting aside, okay, so gunplay,
I have no problems with gunplay.
Gadgets.
yeah, gadgets.
I'm a okay.
Smoking
Okay,
cigarettes in a video game.
Ooh.
this bit has run its course.
Is that like a whole level?
Yeah,
No, you
there's
just like
that,
do it.
there's that level at the airport where you got to find a smoking area. It's pretty great.
I mean, I will say, like, it's a series is like I feel like I should get in on this, but I had an N64 and not a PlayStation,
Right.
and then I had a GameCube and not a PlayStation 2.
Twin snakes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm.
All right, that's a compelling argument.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know you still got that Wii sitting around, baby. I know you want to play some Twin Snakes. And then I know you got a PlayStation 2 somewhere in that house, or you can bust out an HD collection on 360. I think that you might need to play these games because I feel like you would have a lot of thoughts about them, man. It's some fucking crazy, fantastical storytelling. It's got some, strong female characters, not female leads. Obviously, you're playing as Snake most of the time, and in the second one, you're playing as Raiden, and people made fun of it
But
for
I
being
mean-
girly. But strong female characters.
To be fair, you're playing as Snake, but you're playing as Snake as played by David Hayter, and I am all about David Hayter. Like,
Yes,
that man can do no wrong, in my opinion.
indeed. You can play Snake and write the best X-Men movie, so he's fucking fantastic in my book.
He fucking voiced Captain America in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. Which is weird because I'm pretty sure he's Canadian.
I didn't know that, but I fucking love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the games are good, and I suggest that you get into them because, really, it's a pretty casual playthrough. The gameplay itself doesn't take that much time. You got to be willing to sit back and enjoy the story, enjoy the movie as it unfolds in front of you and blows your fucking mind because it's confusing and convoluted and crazy. But
I was gonna say, it's like, you should really enjoy playing these games. Would I, or would I enjoy watching the 15 hours of cutscene?
see, that's the thing. I've played Metal Gear Solid 2 recently, and there's still a good amount of gameplay. Yes, it got inundated with cutscenes, especially towards the end, but I think they still did a pretty good job putting the gameplay in there and just letting you play around in their bizarre little world that they made. It's a good simulation. But yeah, no, I think these might be more up your alley than you realize. I think you definitely should give them a shot at some point. The female lead in this, not female lead, but like there's two really great female characters in Metal Gear Solid 2. There's Olga Gurlukovich, which Johnny so eloquently told us about last week. He knows exactly what he was talking about. She's a great character. And then there's Fortune, who's one of the members of Dead Cell. She's a fantastic villainess. I mean, let me just run down Fortune for you, David. Let me see how many of these things are up your alley. Like, woman in a one-piece bodysuit.
Okay.
Half
Vampires.
black.
Okay.
Giant railgun.
I'm sold already.
Seemingly supernatural ability to not die on the battlefield.
I said I was sold already.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't know why you continue to keep going.
I'm just
Fat guy on rollerblades.
Yeah, also there's Fat Man. Fat Man's pretty cool too. But yeah,
I mean, I will say, like,
now I just want to do a side episode about this where I go through every aspect of Metal Gear and be like, David, yay or nay? Like, how do you feel about sniper
Patreon
rifles?
exclusive. Make sure you check out patreon.com/GameThatTune.
Lightning round. David, do you
Oh,
like
God.
this?
You like bees?
Oh man, yeah.
I will say, like, I really wanted to like get into Metal Gear Solid 4 just based on the Beauty and the Beast core, because that
Mhm.
seemed like such a cool fucking idea. And I mean, if anything was directly like laser guided up my alley, it's the Beauty and the Beast core from Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solid 4.
Bunch of sexy women forced into like cyborg life and also horrifying backstories and
Hey-
that's really fucking cool.
Hey, we have these boss fights that are just beautiful women made into giant mechanical animal monsters. I'm fucking listening.
Yeah. Go see, and it's funny too because I love Metal Gear Solid 4, and I mean it was 2001 when this came out, like 2008 when that came out, and by the time Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, I forgot that it was going to be a sequel to this, like because Metal Gear Solid 3 had come out and was so good. And it's like, oh man, what a fucking game. And I kind of forgot that that 2 asked a bunch of questions and left them unresolved. And then 4 came out. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a sequel to 2. Like,
That's right.
oh
Isn't 3
shit.
a prequel to everything? Like,
Yeah,
isn't
no,
3 in like fucking Vietnam or something?
It's in Russia in the 60s. But
Okay,
it's
yeah.
but it was like, okay, well, 3 just kind of like further asked more questions that like, they dropped some breadcrumbs in 2, they dropped some more breadcrumbs in 3, but then it's like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot that like 4 makes sense to be a direct sequel to 2, not like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking about. Like when it came out and it's like, oh yeah, Raiden's back and like, they're still dealing with the arsenal gears and shit. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about all this shit. Like,
That's a good question. That
Yeah.
just raises further questions.
that's like the Metal Gear series defined. Like, that's a very good question, and it raises further questions. But yeah, and man, 3, you would love 3 because it's got a retro. Tell me how you feel about a retro 60s setting.
Okay, good.
Female antagonist who's one of the most complex characters ever put into a video game.
I'm feeling good. We really should make this lightning round. Like, this should be a Patreon exclusive. How does David feel about Metal Gear? I don't know. Let's break it down line item by line item.
All right, I'm just going to go through the wiki, and every hyperlink I come to, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to ask you how you feel about it. So,
I mean,
No.
I'd be down for it. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm telling you
guys make, like cat sounds.
oh yeah, how do you feel about
I'm in
Yeah.
favor of cat sounds.
ocelots? Both in human form and in cat form.
I mean, I want to play Metal Gear Solid 3 just to understand the original source of the GIF of Ocelot going.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, Ocelot is fantastic, and
For our
that's the thing.
podcast, that was me like shrugging my shoulders and making a what?
Yeah. See, and like playing 2 first, it was like, all right, now who's this Ocelot guy? Like, oh, and he's, there's some weird supernatural shit going on. Okay, man, this game's wacky. And then like I go play the first one, I'm like, all right, yeah, that guy, he's like pure evil. I love this fucking guy. And then you go back to 3, it's like, oh, he's just a little kid. He's just fucking around with the military. This is so cool. and then by the end of 4, it's just you're crying your eyes out. So it's a fucking complicated series, man. You really should consider getting into this.
Oh, Kojima, you beautiful, insane bastard.
Yep, he really had something here. It's a shame that Konami doesn't care as much about their games as Kojima did. But yeah, so there's not a whole lot specific to say about Metal Gear Solid 2. I mean, it's a whole side podcast. I could talk endlessly about this game. I could talk endlessly about the last hour of this game. Like seriously, once you go inside Arsenal Gear and the game starts going fucking crazy, it's just like, yeah, that is something that sticks with you. It's confusing, and you don't know what the fuck's going on, and then it starts talking about societal sanity and fucking the human genome, and it's just like, what the fuck did I just get into? I love this game. So it's good shit, man. It's fantastic. And John, you're never allowed to touch this series again. Don't you ever think about it.
I'm okay with that.
Shit's off limits. But if you actually, okay, so I scratch it. David, you don't have to get into the series if Johnny will get into the series, because that would I'd be really interested to see what happens to Johnny if he plays all the Metal Gear games. Like,
Oh my God, can that please, for the love of God, be our next live streaming?
Yes, just get Johnny marathoning through like Metal Gear. I think it'd be great because that's the thing. I know all these things are pretty much in David's wheelhouse. Johnny has a very ill-defined wheelhouse, and I don't think this game and this series would fit into any category of his wheelhouse. So I think it'd be pretty good.
Where's Sonic?
I mean, I was gonna say we've yet to find a character named Hedgehog.
Yeah.
So
there is at some point a ska version of the Metal Gear Solid theme, I believe. So
Are you fucking with me?
You gotta dig pretty deep, man. It's in there somewhere. I'll send it to you.
I would no shit love a ska version of the Metal Gear Solid theme.
Dude, yeah.
That shit would be amazing.
Ska Eater would be pretty great. Anyway.
John, please do not make a joke like that while I'm drinking my beer, because I will spit it out.
What a thrill. So anyway, great game, interesting tunes. Johnny's never allowed to touch it, and it's time to go to the calculating computer.
Calculating computer activated. Computers. Beeps.
Space!
Boops. Scoring complete. This game's winner is... David Fleming.
Yeah, it is, man. Oh, feels good, David. Glad that you won. Congrats.
Thank you.
These redo episodes were your idea. I think you should win every one of them. So let's write that into the charter. We always do a redo episode every 26 episodes, and David wins it always. So
I was gonna say, okay, so John Regan wins every 25 episodes, so the theme is chosen. David wins every 26 episodes.
Bingo. So we can choose a new and fantastic theme. So David, you got the theme coming up for next week's episode. What do you got in mind, pal?
So, lately I have been playing a lot of a little game called Mega Man 11. So with that inspiring me, I'm thinking games that feature robots.
Hey, I feel like that really should have been a theme sometime in our first 130 episodes.
Wow. Either, you play as a robot, you play against a robot pops up at some point.
Yeah.
Any game with a robot in it.
Robots. It's going to be, man, that's fertile territory for games. Fantastic stuff. And, great game tonight, guys. A lot of fun. Thank you to everybody that's been watching along with us. We're live every Wednesday night at 9 on twitch.tv/GameThatTune, youtube.com/GameThatTune, and facebook.com/GameThatTune. And we always appreciate you guys showing up for the live show. Thank you to everybody listening in podcast form. Our podcasts come out on Wednesday mornings on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for everybody chatting along with us. You can do that with the live show. You can do that in our Discord channel. Go to GameThatTune.com and find our Discord server. We love chatting with you guys. We take requests there, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks to everybody that checks out patreon.com/GameThatTune. It's home for our fun exclusives. We've got new mixtapes. We've got GTT Gyms episodes. We've got all kinds of crazy crap in the works. and we appreciate you guys supporting the show and showing love. Thank you to our Patreon super fan tier producers, Alex Messenger and Lance Revere. You guys are great, and keep up the support. And thank you to our requester, Mixmaster. He hit us up in the Discord channel, but you can also hit us with requests, gamethattune@gmail.com. You can send us a request at gamethattune on Twitter. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, find us anywhere. We'd love to get your requests, and we love taking requests and playing them on the show. You can find us individually on Twitter and just chit chat with us about video game music and send us your request there. I am there at jgangsta187. You can find John Regan on Twitter at
JP Regan JR.
You can find Jesse Moore on Twitter at
Sega_legend.
And you can find this week's winner, Mr. Davey DMX himself, David Fleming, on Twitter at
DFD Fleming.
Fuck yeah, man. So, David, you got the tunes for the bonus part of the show. We call them bonus tunes normally. I don't know why I said it in that order. What are you taking us home with?
So, keeping up with that robot theme, this is the music from one of my favorite robot masters, Thunder Tornado, Tornado Man's theme from Mega Man 9.
Oh, hell yeah, it is. Peace out, everybody. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is copyright 2014-2018 Nintendo of America Incorporated. Battletoads is copyright 1991 Rare Limited. Castlevania Bloodlines is copyright 1994 Konami Company Limited. Streets of Rage 2 is copyright 1992 Sega Games Company Limited. Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty is copyright 2001 Konami Computer Entertainment Japan Incorporated.